Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, TAMI Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to Bringers of the Light Sunday. This is August the 11th that I'm recording this. You can listen to this whenever it suits your fancy. It's kind of timeless, but it's also indicative of the energies of the week ahead. This week, we've got a first quarter moon tomorrow on the 12th. And we have a really big turning point with this Jupiter-Mars conjunction on the 14th of August, which is Wednesday. And then from there, it just all kind of tumbles down. Not tumbles down in any kind of weird way, but like the energy just all kind of starts falling down from there with the full moon on the 19th, that week of the 19th. Well, even starting on the 14th. Let's get into this and see where the guides want us to focus. Before we go any further, welcome, get settled in as I wrap us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guides who overlight TLC for the soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians, and all of my other TLC for the soul guides who join us on these journeys. Welcome in, everyone. Create your own sacred space to listen. Invite in your own guides to help you discern or play with the energies that are being brought up. Fill in your own blanks, the story as it pertains to you. But this autumnal energy is starting to kind of slowly creep in here in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm up here in North Dakota, and we had a little bit of a preview of fall, I guess, over the past week. We had 40s at night and 60s during the day, but that's going to slowly start to creep back up again. We haven't really had a very warm summer at all, but I do see a week of 80-degree temperatures coming up here. So it's not completely the temps yet, but which is fine because the more it gets colder, the more it creeps towards my most unfavorite time of the year, which is with the winter up here. But that's a whole other story. We're not there yet. We're here right now in autumn, early autumn in August. And I'm just going to invite in the guides to, well, they're already here, but just to help kind of move my mouth and bring out any messages or wisdom or fun or insights or storytelling that you all need to hear in this now. Right now, when I'm recording this, the 11th to the 14th is this I would say, if we're talking about the week ahead, you should have been probably already experiencing this over the last 3 or 4 days or so, but the energy has slowly been getting quieter and calm and very, very still. It's so still outside today and yesterday. It's so super quiet, and it's not just that there's really not a lot of people around. It's that the planet feels really still and quiet, right before something's about to take off. Things get really the calm before the storm. We've been talking about this all month, about the changing of the guard, the changing of energies. Those of you who've been doing a lot of work on your karma and a lot of work on yourself are going to start to see those things, popping off. After this Mars-Jupiter conjunction, this full moon in Aquarius, you're going to start to feel the energy slowly rising up. And this quiet space that we're in right now, it doesn't feel like a void. It just feels like a quiet space where you may be, going slower, taking a little bit more time out for yourself, flowing with the energy, getting into the spirit of this season. I know many people, get jazzed, myself included, get jazzed up about the autumn, fall season and Halloween and spooky stuff. And yesterday I spent a lot of time watching one of my favorite channels, my favorite YouTube creators, and they live up in Sleepy Hollow. And I was watching all of their Halloween stuff from last year, and I was like, oh, and then it's all starting to slowly trickle in, that fall feeling of yummy goodness. So I thought what we would do is take a little break from Hula High. I'm going to try to do Bringers Sundays a little bit different, and start sharing from books that are already out there and have already been published, rather than sharing works in progress, because I think that messes up my mojo a little bit when I do that, and it makes the stories maybe a little bit kind of disjointed, because I did channel in a Hula High chapter last week, and it was a very strange chapter. I was like, what is this? And then when I actually recorded the whole entire show for us, and then I was like, I don't like this at all. This just doesn't feel right. This something feels weird, not about the energy itself, but just the way the book was panning out. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this. So I just deleted the whole show, and we did not post a Bringers of the Light Sunday last week, which is fine. But I'm going to start doing that a little bit differently. So books we talk about here in Bringers of the Light Sunday are books that are already out there that I've channeled and created. Could be, I've got, I don't know how many now, 15, 16, 17, 18 books out there now. I've pulled all the paperbacks, so they're only available in ebook format, and many of them are in audiobook format as well on YouTube and my podcast, which on Spotify, there's playlists for all the books. If you go to TLC for the Soul on Spotify, you can more easily find the audiobooks because they'll be in playlists. They're saying talk about Patreon, but, well, we do have a Patreon. It's a little quiet over in the Patreon as well, too. And I think maybe we'll be, maybe not redesigning, but soon we're going to be doing something a little bit different with the Patreon. So it is out there. We do a lot of stuff on Mondays to get you ready for the week ahead. Motivational Mondays and cards of the week, weekly readings, and soon there'll be more going on in the Patreon. There just haven't been right now, and there may not be, but just starting to build that out for everybody as well. So there's a lot of timeless readings and things over there right now. If you're so inclined to want to go take a look at Patreon, you can check that out. There's, I think, 3 different tiers where you can kind of choose your adventure. All right, before I dive in, I'm going to read from the very first book I ever published. Is it the first book I ever published? There was one year, I think it was 2019, where I published 5 books in one year, but they weren't all written that year. They were all kind of saved up. And so I don't know, but for Bringers of the Light, we're going to read from the very first Bringers of the Light series book ever that started the whole Bringers of the Light series, Pumpkin Pie Latte with Abigail Smile. And this October is 7 years of TLC for the Soul on YouTube and on the podcast. And actually I had a podcast before TLC for the Soul, and I kind of deleted everything from that podcast. So I started podcasting really back, was it 2015, 2016, 2017, right around, probably 2017. And I had some stuff up, and I got rid of all of it because I was like, oh, this isn't really applicable anymore. So I've been podcasting for quite some time. But let's what card do we want to draw? We're going to draw from the Brian Froud Fairy Oracle, just a card for the week ahead, and then probably build on that over on Patreon on Mondays. I record on Mondays and post it over on Patreon on Mondays. the week ahead cards, or I've jumped back and forth between Motivational Mondays, which is more of like a week ahead kind of planning session and getting us like ready for the week ahead, where we do the cards. But let's just see. All right, Spirit, what's going on with this right now? Oh, all right. So let me get, I like the book for this. I do like to take a look at it. It's just like the font on the card is kind of hard to read sometimes. And let's see here what we've got. So this Jupiter-Mars conjunction coming up on the 14th is like they keep saying like the big tip off, the big kickoff, because I put on my calendar, even before I kind of knew that much about it, I put the DM, the Divine Masculine rises up. And that could be the Divine Masculine within you. It could be the Divine Masculine, a person external to you. It could just be the Divine Masculine energy, because earlier in the month when we did the August Energy Hangout, we talked about the whole beginning of the month being more Divine Feminine in nature, even though it was very powerful with Lionsgate and we're Leo season and all that. It was much more about bringing energies in through the Lionsgate and grounding them in through through our bodies, and being much more like languid and fluid and not so action oriented. If there was downtime, it was more like, do some stuff, take some downtime. Because you got to keep doing your responsibilities. You're not going to drop everything, right? But do some stuff, take some downtime. Do some stuff, take some downtime. And I knew when I was guided to go do my shopping, it's like a 120-mile round trip to go do my shopping. I was guided to do it like earlier last week. I think it was Wednesday of last week. And Spirit's like, you're not really going to be going anywhere and for like the next week, which is fine. I don't mind. I'm like, I can be a homebody. I can be a homebody, be very happy and not go anywhere. But I do love to travel. So, I do have my bucket list of places I want to go. But I always just feel so good to like come back home to like your sacred space, your sacred land, and just, be there with the energy of the land and the space. I'm a big time, like I am a land guardian. I am a guardian of the space that I'm at. It's a very special gift to kind of sit here at the end of the medicine wheel trail and help hold the grids right here in this space, hold the energy very high and the frequencies very high. But after this 14th comes in, all that Divine Feminine stuff gets put into action with this DM rises up energy, and I think a lot of stuff is going to start taking off. Luathus the Wild is the card we got for the week ahead. Haste, impulsiveness, fire, spontaneity, and balance. Luathus the Wild is filled with fire, and fire is associated with the creative life force. This fairy fires us up, gets us going. See, this is what's going to happen with this DM rises up. Recharges our batteries and creative energies. He likes to be around when things are exciting, when there is a life force blazing high, and he can jump in and encourage it to burn even higher. Creation and passion are his bailiwick. Faster, faster, faster is his motto. This is Bryant. A waitress serving me breakfast looked over my shoulder as she rushed past and paused on her toes as she saw Luathus. Oh, she exclaimed, balancing 3 full plates and 2 coffee pots. He looks like a bad fairy. I don't want him in my life. We could do a lot with those 2 sentences. Oh, God. Oh, is there someone coming in that you're like, what? He looks like a bad fairy. I don't want him in my life. Then she took off at a near run for the people down the aisle who were gesturing for coffee. We have to be careful with Luathus. He doesn't know the meaning of words like slow, stop, rest, respite, catnap, moderation, gradual, pace, gentle ease, pace. See, this is why we've had to do all of this building up to this energy that's coming in, is you're just going to be like, woo, on fire. These are all things that humans must know in order to live creatively and constructively with him. Anything else is fatal. The fire of the Loathis can be destructive as well as creative. So I think this is where we talked about the dichotomy and the kind of the changing of the guard happening with, it all starts with this Jupiter-Mars conjunction, and there's some other stuff happening around the full moon. These mutable T-squares, because I keep getting shown T's everywhere. These mutable T-squares that happen right around the full moon time, the full moon in Aquarius, are this just bringing in this fire, this desire, this passion. And so for those of you that are ready to move forward into even more of a higher vibe, divine timeline, we're going to be getting all of the creativity, the art, the passion, the fire, the desire, and all of that to help propel us along on these new journeys. I see this when T squares happen in astrology, and astrologers are kind of pointing them out as something as an important one, because I think this one is not just the T square, because I think T squares happen quite often in sacred geometry in the astrology, but this one has a T square backed by the energy of the full moon, backed by, there's also a yod, finger of God happening. Yeah, I'm getting big chills for that one. There's a finger of God as part of the astrology too. So, my whole right side. So all of that together in the geometry of the celestials, is what's going to be like pushing the go. It's almost like pushing the go button for you to embark on this new life stream in your life, this new destined phase of your life. So the fire comes in with the Jupiter-Mars conjunction, kind of revving everything up, and this T-square / full moon, which full moons, I think it's a super moon as well, plus this yod, this finger of God, all come in. This yod, I see this finger of God is kind of like pushing the button on the go, like pushing the go button or something. So, and the go button could be, for those of us that are ready, have been ready to be ready for, getting our good, having our good work recognized. I don't want to go into the whole karma thing again. But we're going to be moving very quickly through through the gate, through the portal, onto this live stream, and you're just going to see things. I saw it when I look at the calendar, because I draw my own calendar out, and when I look at the calendar, when I look at the 14th, and then I look at everything beyond the 14th looks like the top of a mountain to me, and then it looks like codes, and like everything just kind of trickles down from there. Like the 14th is like a mountain. It's very hard to explain. And then I just see the energy like trickling down through the calendar. So that 14th is an important part of this whole kickoff process. And then this full moon, this finger of God, this T-square brings everything into alignment and just energizes it even more. So if you're the person that's like waiting for the next big destined event in your life, I'm not talking about little stuff like, something small, like, I don't know what the something small would be, but this is like big stuff. This is like births, people passing on, people coming in, souls passing on, souls coming in, marriages, engagements, babies come, you're pregnant or whatever. Changing of the guard, divorces, marriage, the big stuff, somebody going to college, somebody coming of a certain age, like milestone stuff, not little stuff, not little everyday stuff. This is the big stuff. And it's for us listening, it's like the good stuff because we're done with that dark night of the soul phase. For other people, I don't want to go too much into it because I've spent two or three shows, I think, talking about this. But for other people, their dark night of the soul will just be starting. And those of us that are here are going to be the ones like supporting those people. So the parrot guidance, if you need confirmation, you like to hear what I call parrot guidance, like repetitive confirmations from the channelings, either from myself or, others you may follow that you're listening to. This is probably the third or fourth time we've brought this message through. So they're saying it's important to know that this is a time to prepare, which has been coming up in the Almost Daily Shorts as well. This is a time to prepare, to get ready. I have found myself like not planning certain things, but the other day I was guided to just go in and pick up this bag I have of all this paperwork, stuff I've been carrying around with me for who knows how long, almost 10 years, and going through this whole bag of paperwork and going, do I need all this paperwork anymore? Is it even important? Is it even applicable now? And I trashed a bunch of it. Some of it was meant for somebody else, and I separated all of that stuff out for that person, and I'm like, this belongs to this person, this belongs to me, and I was like, it feels like getting your house in order and just getting ready to be ready, whatever that means to you. That's what this feels like. But it says, the fire of Luathis can be destructive as well as creative. Rage, fury, and anger are all part of the fire element, and fire burns as well as energizes. Think of the gentle warmth of a full and sleeping kitten, its inner fire converting milk to bone and muscle and to extravagant friskiness, or the flame of the candle lighting the wanderer's way home, or the anger of a hurt soul lashing out at others, or the inferno of a forest fire, wild and overpowering. Creation and destruction. See, this is creation energy. Creation and destruction are inextricably linked. The fire that burns creates ash, which in turn acts as fertilizer for new growth. The slopes of volcanoes, maybe it's a volcano I'm seeing. The slopes of volcanoes are highly fertile, which is why people take the risk of living and farming on them. Think of the phoenix who lays her egg and then bursts into flame to incubate it. Birth, death, and rebirth are the cycle of fire. This card says that wild creative energies are being brought to whatever position it represents in the card layout, which it's like the only one, and we may... And I think it's going to be the significator for the chapter we're going to read here, or whatever little part we're going to read. It often fires up things that surround it, energizing them as well. It tells us that it's important to think and act creatively, and it says that the energy to do so is available. New approaches are called for here. Old ideas and old behaviors will not do. Sometimes it may be useful to draw another card or in a layout to get some suggestions about what those new ideas might be. Alternatively, Luathis may be telling you to go for something now with an exclamation point. This is a really long reading. Sometimes it's important to take the risk of making a fool of yourself to gain something amazing and wonderful and miraculous. Sometimes when Luathis says, go for it now, it is important to do so. And sometimes it isn't. If the only reason for caution is that you're afraid of looking silly, it probably is time to go for it. Remember then that you need to keep an eye on Luathis. Yes. Don't let him have control of your schedule or the accelerator in your car. He always thinks going faster and taking chances is better, and sometimes he is right. But use your sense and stay grounded, even while he takes you off on a flight of fancy. Oh my gosh, there's so much there. So let's get pumpkin spice latte. And okay, they want me to read from this, and then just scroll, they're saying. Okay, so is this the last chapter of the book? This is the last chapter of the book, chapter 16. So this is my book, Pumpkin Pie Latte. All my ebooks are free to read. The links to everything I talk about are always in the show notes. These books are magical prose. They may not all look perfect. I'm doing a audiobook healing audiobook series with The Stallion Returns right now. And I was going through one of the chapters and I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole duplication in here. So I'm like going through a second edit, I think, of a lot of these. So just keep that in mind if you're reading through some of them and they're, something's weird or whatever. There's some little grammatical thing, It's more about the channeling and the energy than it is anything about being perfect or, anything like that. So Google Books, Apple Books, Barnes & Nobles. Thank you for everyone who's downloaded books. I get emails and I've seen a huge uptick in the books that have been downloaded. And, play with these, play along with them, along with the audiobooks. I think I have 5 of them maybe out in audiobook format, and soon they all will be. I think after The Stallion Returns, I am going to start with the Bringers of the Light series and try to do the audiobooks in the order as they've been published and written. So we have that whole ongoing bibliography. And then if you're Bringers of the Light, and you want to be part of the fandom, that is part of Patreon. And we're going to start really sussing out and playing with, the book characters and the maps of all the places and all of that good stuff as well. But right now we're going to read, so spoiler alert, if you haven't read or haven't done Pumpkin Pie Latte and you don't want to hear the last chapter right now, then, maybe you shouldn't hear this. But I don't know. Here we go. We're on the last chapter of a book. So I do find that very interesting, that it's the last chapter of the first book in the series. Anyway, I don't know. So I'm going to read this. Here's how we do this. If you're new here, we read the chapter. These are all channeled. One of my spiritual gifts is clairaudience. All of my books are done via automatic writing. There's a nonfiction book, Eat Like a Lemurian, the same way. I just call it, create sacred space, call in my guides that I want to work with these books on. Get my fingers on the keyboard, and a chapter at a time, I just channel in via automatic writing the chapters. I don't plan books out. I don't research. Well, sometimes I do research. So if something comes up in a channeling, I'm like, what is that? I will go down the little bunny trail they want me to go down, but I don't plan out book chapters and I have book outlines. None of that. I let Spirit take the reins on all of this. And so books will not be consistent. Some might have 10 chapters, some might have 30 chapters. Some might, be super long and some might be super short. But they all are written with the intent and channeled in with the intent of being healing, fun, uplifting, motivating, magical prose that, if anything, will, is meant to make you smile, uplift your energy. There's Reiki built into these books and healing vibes and all of that that comes with them. So if you want something high vibe, uplifting, potentially spooky, some of these are kind of spooky. The Thunder Rose collection can be a little spooky and a little erotica at the same time. Just saying, then choose with your heart which one sounds right for you. This is called Back into the Light. So I'm going to read the chapter, and then what I do is go in then and suss out any metaphors that might apply to the week ahead. So listen with your master senses. There may be metaphors, meanings, something in here that I'm reading that may pertain specifically just for you that I may not pick up on. So those are all messages meant for you. But here we are. Abigail smoothed her hair and got up to get a drink. It had been a long night, and she had somewhat joyfully, albeit not completely satisfied, gone home with Raincourt. From the Count's home, this is Count Machar, she had watched while the Bringers of the Light Special Forces team had bundled up Count Machar and taken him away in the back of their white van. She had hugged Polly for what seemed like ages as the old hag witch looked longingly at the big black cat who appeared from the dark kitchen. It had been a heartfelt, tearful reunion, but that was that, and still no Dakar. Abigail felt funny inside, like a part of her was missing from the celebration, but she could do nothing but return home with Rainicourt, that's her Raven familiar, and head unwillingly up to bed to try to get some rest. The autumn festival began tomorrow afternoon, and she was chairperson of the baked goods event. She had to have a clear mind and an empty stomach. She had to taste all those cake entries. But she couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe almost, at the thought that something might have happened to Dakar. She even started to doubt what had really occurred. Maybe he just went away for a while, she thought, allowing herself to forget that she had seen something take him away that night. She couldn't have dreamt all of that, could she? The night wore into morning, and Abigail awoke from the downstairs sofa, where she had drifted into a light sleep before the fire. She dressed slowly and took her time picking her outfit for the day. She wanted to look judicious, but in a fun way, if that was even possible. Many towns came to participate in the festival, and some of the best artisans, chefs, and bakers prepared goods to bring there in the hopes of winning one of the top prizes. This year they were giving away a car, donated by Fagin O'Malley of the vintage car shop in town, a smart-looking Aston Martin that had been restored from the ground up. Anyone would be lucky to win that, she thought, thinking her old Mercedes was coming up on its 30th year. Abigail ate a light breakfast and dutifully packed her judge's bag with her crystals and plenty of breath mints, her secret potion recipe in case she tasted something really horrid. Just because some of the best participated in the contest didn't always mean the best tasting. She had learned from past experience. She sighed woefully almost. She knew she was whole and complete without Dakar, but he simply just made her day and her life more meaningful. If he had gone, there would be a big hole in her heart. But she could still sense him, still feel him on the periphery. Darn him, she thought, if he's playing games with me. She loaded up her car and put Rainicord on the dash in his favorite spot by the little window up front. She started the old car and the engine sputtered to warm up. It was chilly outside and a light breeze blew in off the water. Abigail arrived at the festival grounds several miles outside the city and parked her car in the officiant's lot. She went around to open the trunk and was met by Miranda pulling a cart of the pies that Crust would enter in the contest. Of course, to be fair, Abigail couldn't judge her own entry, but she had wanted that car, so she would sit out that part of the contest and participate as an entrant. She followed Miranda to the booth that had been set up for them. Abigail had thought way back when she signed up for the festival that it would be fun to do little card readings for people. Set up something that would help the people who needed some guidance of their own. Now she wished she hadn't. She was desperate almost to find Dakar. She needed some guidance of her own. And then she heard it. Go left right now, the voice said into her mind. Now go right, it beckoned her forward. Abigail's heart leapt as she followed the instructions. Now head down by the old boathouse, the voice told her in a calm tone. Abigail picked up her pace. No matter that, she could hear her name being called over the PA system. Abigail, smile, please report to the judge's tent. Now come inside, the voice in her mind instructed. Abigail felt for the door handle. Her heart was in her throat. What or who would she find inside? She carefully opened the door and stepped inside. No one. And then hands over her eyes. Oh, sure are pretty pumpkins, Dakar said, pulling her into him as she pretty much swooned at the feeling of him. Is that the best you could do, she said, losing herself in his embrace. Yay! So, Luathis the Wild is putting fire and desire behind all of these things going on in this chapter 16. What is 16? Oh gosh, let's see. Let me find one other thing here. What is 16 in the tarot, in the major arcana? Oh my God, I did a workout yesterday. My legs are so sore. I can barely move. I've done a lot of lunges. All right. Oh, card number 16 is, well, in this is the Bohemian Animal Tarot's book. Card number 16 in this deck is the Rook, which is the Tower card. Ravens and crows speak of change. So this must be our last card. So let me read the Tower card here. Let me just play with this chapter for a minute, and then we'll look at this, the Rook. because it looks like the Wathis the Wild is energizing this tower stuff. And in this chapter, I do like it says, Abigail got up. It had been a long night. I feel like for a lot of us, it's been a long, dark night of the soul. Like not just one night, but like years and years and years and years. And at this chapter, they've just kind of vanquished the darkness in the form of Count Mashar. And Bringers of the Light Special Forces team takes the darkness and takes them away. It takes them away in their white van. And there is a whole lot here about Abigail feeling funny, like a part of her's missing. That there's this celebration, but there still feels like there's something missing, like there's something not quite complete. So it's like chapter 16 has this completion energy about it, but through most of the chapter, so maybe this is how the week plays out for you. For most of the week, maybe you still feel like something's not quite complete. Maybe August 14th comes and goes and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, yet again, yet again, I've been led down this trail of thinking something's going to happen and nothing's happening yet. And the guides here are saying, hold on. Everything's happening while it seems like nothing is happening. Okay, so we got the Autumn Festival, and through all of this, Abigail still feels Takar, still feels like, he can't be dead. I think she thinks maybe something got him and he's dead. But she's like, he can't be dead because I feel him in my heart and soul. And so, she's still going about her responsibilities. So this newness that's coming in for you, whatever this is, with the full moons and the T-squares and the fingers of God and the push button and all that and the 14th energy, and the new destined life stream is all playing out. Well, you guys are always going to say it's all playing out right now. It's all playing out right now. It's all coming full circle with that full moon. Yeah, full circle with that full moon. And the things you want, it doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing. It's something really big that you're wanting, that you're manifesting. It just feels like it's right there. So close in your energy field. And I think if there's something that you have to do to take action, you have to take action. There's something that you have to do. It's take action. Yeah, so for some of you, you're the one that kicks off the whole new life stream for yourself and possibly for somebody else. You might be the one that has to, like the card said, feel like you might look silly doing something, but you have to do it anyway. Because if the only reason is that you feel like you might look silly doing it, well, then you might just get on with it, right? Just get on with whatever that action is that you're supposed to be taking. And if you're the recipient of said action, I guess you have to be like Abigail and be like, well, life still feels like it's not complete yet. Just go about my daily responsibilities, keep going, keep feeling this person's energy in my energy field, keep knowing that they're there, keep knowing that they're coming, acting as if they're already there, acting as if what you want is already there. So for example, let's say maybe you want to move, maybe a big move somewhere else is part of what you want. And to me, that's a big change. And, but let's say you're like, well, I don't know anything about this move yet. It's like, I don't even know where I'm going or where I know what I want, but I don't know where I'm going. Which is what happened with my last move. When I moved here, I was like, I knew I was moving from like my condo place to a house, but I didn't know where the house was. And Spirit's like, just keep searching. I mean, I could have chosen. They were like, you can choose anywhere in the United States. So I just started picking places, and slowly, things started showing up. And then slowly it was like, bam, this Mystic Gables was just right there. And I'm like, this is the house. I just know it is. I just know this is the one. But when I looked, I was like, what in the heck, North Dakota, what? I've lived in South Texas for 30 plus years. What do you mean North Dakota? And all I knew about North Dakota was the movie Fargo and the horrible winters. And then I kept going back and forth with Spirit. Like, no, I wanted a house. And then Spirit's like, well, if you want a house, this is your house. And they're like, you have to be willing to just like have blind faith. They didn't say have blind faith, but they just kept saying like, this is the next part of your journey. This is the next leg of your journey. And so I was like, well, might as well be bold and make that move, and so I did. And, it hasn't been, I'm not going to say it was a piece of cake. It hasn't been easy. The winters here are very hard. But I know it's leading me to the next big move, which is, do I want to stay in North Dakota freaking forever? Absolutely not. So where's the next move for you? Maybe you don't know where it is. Maybe it'll happen upon you like that. Maybe you'll have this like, well, you can go anywhere you want. And you just find your forever place. I think that's how I found my place. Yeah. Am I diatribing? They're like, no, keep going. This is like a little storytelling. And then we're going to read the rook card. I think that's how I found my place on the California coast as well. When I quit corporate, I was living in an apartment complex like 3 miles away from my office in Irvine, California. And I had found that by divine, because the name of the apartments was like my mom's last name at the time. And but I knew I wanted something like really fun. I just gotten out of corporate. I'm like, I want something, I want to be by the ocean. And so I made this list of like this place that I wanted to live. I mean, it was a very specific list. I had to be able to hear the sound of the ocean. And I don't even remember all the things I said now. I had to have a place for everybody and my dogs. Did I have 2 dogs? I can't remember. I think I had 2 dogs, right about that. 2 dogs. And I wanted to be able to walk to the beach and this, blah, 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 all these things. And I remember my lease was coming up in my apartment and it was like, I don't want to sign another lease here. I don't want to live in Irvine. It's kind of hot and deserty. I mean, it's beautiful. It's amazing, like amazing bike trails. But I was like, no. So I was working with the goddess Lakshmi. I'm like, oh, bring me my place. And I just kept doing searches after searches after searches. And I just kept focusing on the coast. And I'm like, I know I want to live on the coast. I know it's expensive, but I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I deserve this. I've worked like 30 plus years in corporate and I'm finally like early retiring. I want to live on the freaking coast. Maybe I can't, maybe it's not in the cards for me to live there forever, but I wanted to live by the ocean. And I remember, searching, realtor.com, blah, 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 for many days. And then there it was. I just knew when I saw the pictures, I'm like, this is it. This is going to be the one. And it was a townhome and the rent was really, really high. I remember I was like, wow, okay. Which I was fine with it at that time. I was like, I'm okay with this right now. I probably want not, maybe in the long term, that's kind of expensive to be renting someplace for that much money. But, I was like, I can do this for now. And, I made an appointment to go see it. And, when I was walking through, who was I walking through with? Was it a realtor? I don't remember. Oh, it was a realtor. Yeah, when I was walking through the realtor, because the owner, it was a weird story. Like the owner had just bought it, but had never even seen it himself. And the people that had owned it had just moved out. And actually went through it when their stuff was still all there. It was amazingly, beautifully decorated. And as the realtor's walking me through it, I mean, it's ticking off every single thing on my list. I mean, it had like an amazing master bathroom with like all of it was just like a spa quality. And it was like, wow. It had an ocean view. It had a balcony looking out over the ocean. It had an amazing courtyard outside. It only had 2 neighbors. It only had one older lady on one side and one lady on the other side. And they were both really, really nice. And then as I'm ticking down everything on my list that I had made that I was working with Lakshmi on, the very last thing that the realtor says to me was exactly the last thing I had put on my list. It was an oceanfront. It was like a 10-minute walk down a very beautiful trail along the Monarch Beach golf course in Dana, wasn't Dana Point, it was Laguna Niguel and like Dana Point. But the very last thing she said was, and you can hear the sound of the ocean from the house, even though it was down through the canyon. And that was like the very last thing on my list was, I can hear the sound of the ocean from the house. I was like, ding, this is my space. This is my place. And everything just literally just fell into place. And I think I moved in within like a week or two. So, and I wasn't, that definitely wasn't on my list. I just made a list of things. I didn't really care where it was. It could have been anywhere. But, California is like my baby. So I really felt like I had to be in California. So, those are the kinds of magical things I think that can happen with this finger of God / T-square / Aquarius full moon. Those kinds of moments can come up where you just, everything like clicks into place and it just feels like magic happened all around you. And I think that's how it felt both of these times I'm talking about were these moves, because the moves for me felt like, an uptick, like moving from a condo to a big, big house. That's a major event. And a whole other state, in the whole other part of the country, that's major. And then the other one too, like early retiring from the corporate world where I've been for so long, and then wanting to go to the beach and finding like this perfect spot at the time. At the time it was perfect spot. So, these are the kind of moments where the magic just falls all in around you. And it's like, I remember the people I was with at the time were like, "Are you sure about this? Because this place seems like really out of range." They kind of felt like it was kind of out of range a little bit. And I'm like, "No, this is my place for right now." And it was. I lived there for like 3 years, I think. 3 years in that place, and then it was time to go into my dark night of the soul. And then everything kind of fell down. Everything fell down. Now we're on the other side of that, and everything's going to be going up. So the significator card for this Lothus the Wild is the Rook. Which one? Ravens and crows speak of change. This is the Tower card. The difference is that Raven offers time to ponder the change, while the crow isn't so patient or understanding. So in this particular card, the Tower card of the Bohemian Animal Tarot, there's ravens and crows in the card, and they're on this tower where everything's kind of falling down. Raven allows us the opportunity to decide how we might like the change to be shaped and when we'd like it to be initiated, while crow decides on our behalf. Whenever we say something like, "I'm over it, I'm bored," we are sending an intention out into the universe that will inevitably trigger a reply. And that reply often comes in the guise of a raven first. And if we waste time or drag our feet, the crow usually symbolically comes second. To see many ravens is to know that the universe has received our prayers, which is interesting because Rain Court, Abigail's Raven familiar, is in that chapter, and we've got ravens here in this card. To see many ravens is to know that the universe has received our prayers and that whatever change we require can be ours, if only for the asking. Ravens fly in flocks called unkindness, an unkindness of ravens. So when the raven comes, we can rest assured that something has to change and that we must initiate that change if we want to maintain control of the reins, and then the expectations on us will be harsh if we don't. Lost in the abyss of the night sky and the darkness of the lower world, the innocent, so this is the fool's journey, the innocent is haunted by the unknown. How will he free himself? How will he escape the lower world? Something must give, something must happen, offering him opportunity to embrace change. He realizes this. He has built a thick layer of protection around himself, a fortress of sorts constructed from the stuff of his own ego. Only now does he see that the safe and happy life he has created has become a prison, binding him and keeping him trapped. A violent, hard-hitting event looms, threatening to tear his fortress down, shattering his whole existence, overthrowing and destroying his very state of being. Perhaps a nasty surprise in the form of a massive shakeup is what is needed. I think this is what's going to be happening in the collective. And perhaps the pain and suffering he may experience will be enough to help him realize the error of his ways so he can see the truth, making the whole ghastly experience worthwhile. Will he start his life over afresh, though, or use the bricks from the old tower to rebuild? And there's divinatory meanings. There's like keywords. There's a whole bunch of them. So I'm just going to close my finger and put my finger down and see kind of where it lands for this tower card for everybody here. We've got exposing a truth, a forced change of routine, and there's some of these too, like losing a financial crash, a reversal of fortune. I think this is all things that are going to be happening within and around us that we may have to be the ones to help others on. So not every meaning is meant for us. I think we're coming out of these reversals. I think the reversal of fortune, though, is things are going to start going up now for us. While you might see financial crashes and things happening in the world around you to others that you follow, others that you know, other people in your reality, and just to stay compassionate and sensitive to that. And if you are a bringer of the light who's in service to others, then Spirit's going to be giving you ways to help others at this time. So this is not just all about your personal gain. This Lothus the Wild and this Tower card and this ending of chapters or ending of... This is the last chapter in a whole book. So the ending of this book, this story, is not just about your gain. I mean, that's part of it. But the balance to that is, how can you take that gain that you're going to be having, that new life, that new whatever, and help. In addition to that, at the same time, you're going to be called into service to help others. So be thinking about that as well in terms of balancing your energy. If you have to, make a whole move across the country, how do you do service? How are you serving others at the same time? I don't freaking know, Maybe you have to put something on hiatus for a few months or something while you make some big life changes. Only time will tell, and only your guides are going to be, the ones helping and showing you along the way what steps have to be taken here. But this pivotal energy of this next week and a half or so is going to be the kickoff to all of these things happening. And that's why you've been in this little bit of a reflective, kind of peaceful, very quiet, getting ready to be ready zone right now. So, just get ready for that. Rest up as best you can over the next 2 or 3 days, and then, get ready to take some action. All right. Oh, yes, I've talked away longer than I typically would have. So I guess this is a very important week ahead, and hence we usually spend about 30 minutes here, but we've gone on for almost an hour. So I am going to bid you all a sweet adieu and see what happens next Sunday when we'll be in the middle of all of this Lothus the Wild energy. So for now, my friends, thank you so much for joining us, and take care.
Welcome to Auntie Hattie's Banana Bread Barn walking tours. Come join us. Take a break from the road to Hana. Come on in and try our powdered sugar-topped banana bread and a walking tour through Auntie Hattie's beautiful banana plantation. She might talk to you a little bit about how to make her famous banana bread as she winds you through the trails where there are mystical elemental beings who might show themselves to you if you give them a chance and maybe share a little piece of your banana bread. Auntie Hattie's Banana Bread Barn walking tours, the Road to Hana favorite.